In this practice video, I'm going to show you how to utilize the basic modified tools that we've explained in a previous video. So I'm going to open up a project. Okay, so in this view here, we're going to start off with on the mechanical. So I'm going to go to the mechanical floor plan. And what we're going to do is we're going to replicate this room, and we're going to apply this to the lab room 104, and then we're going to apply it to the lab 107 here. So I'm going to start by collecting all four ceiling grills, and then we're going to use the copy command. Make sure that multiple is ticked because we're copying it more than once. And then we're going to use this corner point of the room here and move it to 104, and then again into lab here. Now just before we do this, if you notice the size of the rooms, they can be slightly different. So as we place this in here, in this corner, you can see that the grids don't necessarily match up, but that's fine. We can correct that under another command. What we can do is we can untick the selection because we had 4 of them, and select the 2, and we just use the move command. Now in this instance we're going to move it by 1200 mil, and we can use the guide temporary dimensions there. Okay, now we're going to move on to plumbing. So we need to scroll down in our project browser and find a plumbing floor plan. So we've got the men's toilets here, and we're going to use an array and mirror in this example. So we're going to select both of these 2 items first, and then we want to use the array. Like I mentioned to you before, make sure that you choose the correct one because it will be the last one that you used. So we need to click linear on this because we want a linear copy. And we want to go down 900 mil. Now I'm going to type this in. So I've chosen the direction that we want. I've typed in 900. And then we want to actually repeat this 4 times. So we want 4 in the set. So now we've got 4 of each at 900 apart. If we have them all selected again, we can just ungroup, and now we've got individual controls over each one. Now what we're going to do is we want to use the mirror command. So we want to select these toilet pans, we want to mirror, and we want the center of this wall because we want to repeat them and put these on the women's side. When we're doing plumbing installation, you want to keep all your same source of waste type to be together, so you wouldn't necessarily want to just copy this and have this the other side of the room. You want to try and keep all of these together. So we're going to click on here. Just make sure that your copy was ticked, otherwise you'll end up deleting the originals. And then click modify to come out of that command. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to copy these lavatories or wash basins across and put those in the women's. So we want to put our cursor over the top of one of these, doesn't matter which, and we right click, and here we will do create similar. And then what we can do is we can put that over onto the women's toilet, and then just escape out of it. Now, if it was still selected, we could automatically go straight back on and click on the array. And again, just like the others before, we can copy it down. But the reason why I escaped out of it is I like to make sure that we've got them aligned first. So if we start the first one off, and we can align it. Any of these temporary lines that you draw, you can delete those afterwards, otherwise you'll end up having a load of lines everywhere that you don't necessarily need. So linear array, 900, 4 of them. And there we have those particular items. Again, if you ungroup them, then you've got control over how they move. What we're going to do next in this example is, because we've got these all ungrouped now, I'm going to select two of these, and I'm going to change the type, because I'm going to change these to urinals. And I'm going to change it to this one. Make sure you do this in the men's and not the women's. And the last part of this exercise is we're going to be looking at the electrical. So we're going to go to the electrical ceiling plan here. So as we've shown, we're going to copy these two lights. Copy, multiple. Constraint just means that it stays in the same axis. So you're best off sticking to grids here as opposed to corners of rooms, because it's the grids that we would need to align to. Now if you notice here, this room's a lot bigger. So we want to add in an additional one. We'll move one and we'll add one in. So we'll move this one. And then we can add one in. In this exercise, I'm going to manually place one in rather than copy one again. So I'm going to go to Systems, Luminaire, and the type that we want is what we've just got here. 300 by 1200, 277, and we want it face based. Again, it comes in like this, so I'm pressing the space bar to rotate it and place it. Now if we notice in this particular room down here, we've got a different type of ceiling grid here. So it's a 600 square, so we're going to choose a different fitting, a 600 by 600, 277. Place on face, but as you can see, it doesn't line up with what we've got. So we can, easiest option is just to press, hover over one of the grid lines, and then press your space bar to rotate, and it sinks in. And then we can position our lights accordingly. doing it like this, and then we can use an array or copy command to replicate the lights. If you put it in manually, you can just use the modify, rotate and move the cursor, the pivot point, etc. But I found it just as easy as what I've just explained to you. Hover over a grid and use the spacebar, and that will automatically do that. It saves you having to manually come back and change it again. And that's the end of that practice.